Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So glad to have you here. As always, I'm always glad to have you here. I'm Dr. Margo Jacquot. I'm your mental health business mentor. And today I have a lovely guest. All my guests are lovely, but we have Leah Guzman here today. Let me tell you a little bit about Leah. Leah is a board certified art therapist and professional artist. She has been an artist all of her life and practicing art therapy for over 20 years. Excellent. She provides online art therapy services to creatives supporting their mental well being. What a great service. So many people don't want to do this online. That's wonderful. Leah is an international best-selling author. Her book, Essential Art Therapy Exercises, has been published in 5 different languages. She also wrote The Art of Healing and Manifesting Creative Exercises to Living an Abundant Life, a children's book. Rad is SMAD, or is it RAD is SMAD? And her next book, yes, that's wonderful. Art as Therapy for Youth, Creative Ways to Express Big Emotions. So, good morning to you, and thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Dr. Margo, for inviting me to be on your podcast. It's very exciting.
Well, it's wonderful. And, one of the reasons I really wanted to speak with you is because you are a published author and you have, in addition to your art therapy work, and I want you to tell our audience a little bit about your art therapy work and your programs that you have. And also, I think there are so many clinicians who wish they could publish and they have no idea how to self-publish. You've done that twice, it sounds like, at least. And because of your self-publishing, a publisher reached out to you and asked you or offered you a book deal. So you've done both models, which is fabulous. S Can you just first of all tell us a little bit about you and your work and your programs? Because you have several really great offerings.
Yeah, I've been practicing for over 20 years, and it was, I want to say about 10 years ago where I really wanted to show up in a different way. And that means online because I've been practicing for 20 years. But something actually happened. And I want to tell you the story because it actually goes with why I created my first book. Um, as an art therapist, I wasn't practicing my own self care, meaning like I wasn't making my own art. And so I had an experience where I was just, serving others, but not serving myself. And I actually went through, I like to call it the dark night of the soul, but it was complete burnout. From that experience, I went and sought help from another art therapist, and it gave me so much clarity because I realized that I needed to get back into my art. And the way that I wanted to do that, at that time, my kids were very little, and my son was really into monster trucks. And I wanted to create something that had something to do with um, the what I was experiencing, my own feelings of feeling sad and mad, because I was at that time I realized I was a people pleaser, saying yes to everybody, but not saying yes to myself. And so I created this book that I could use with the kids that I was providing services to help them deal with their sad and mad feelings, but also learning about self care. So it was like after creating this book and putting it out into the world, it just opened my eyes of like, oh my goodness, I love this. I love that I can create something that it can live on. It doesn't just like last for a day. It's something I can reuse. I can be of service, and it was healing for me. And I love that. So from that point of of being online, of like putting myself out there, like sharing this gift, it started more of a momentum of me making my art, putting my art into the world. So I am an artist. I do love art, have art in the background here. But also because that's my self care, I have to practice my self care. And then through that process of showing up, letting people know what I do, that's when I started offering services to creatives to say, hey, if you need some, mental well-being, I'd be happy to do that. So I was doing practicing online before COVID, and people like other therapists would actually scoff at me, like, what, you're doing something online? And I'm like, yeah, it's actually really cool. People, you can connect with people from far away and do something really powerful and make transformation in their life. So part of that process of showing up it gave me that presence. And that's when I actually had a publisher. It was called Keisto Media, but now it's Penguin House bought them out. And that's where essential art therapy exercises came from. So they reached out to me, and that was awesome because it gave me another opportunity to, think about what I wanted to share. So these are different exercises using different media like painting, collage, clay, and being able to try out the techniques. Um, so I kind of I look at it as like a taster. It's not actually. I know what the title is essential art therapy, and I know that can be confusing because really art therapy is that connection that you have with the clinician, and then you're on a guided journey. But this is like a sampler, right? Like this is like a taster. So that's where that came from. And from that, because you had asked me, like, what are your services? So I had mentioned that, I do provide the online services, but through that dark night of the soul and then showing up online, I was like, wow, this is also a place where I can serve more than just a few, because I can't see that many people individually, like a handful, like not that many. So I was like, how about if I take what I've learned from my dark night of the soul, those self care practices, and then I just show up in community. So this is where I created the Creative Soul Society membership. So the membership has been around for 4.5 years now. I can't believe it's been that long, which is pretty amazing. But this is where this book came from. And this is a self published book. It's called The Art of Healing and Manifesting. And this book, I actually did the exercises first in the community before it even became the book. And then after I was doing the exercises in community, I was like, wow, I should put this into a book.
So telling me about that other book, which did you design the art for the outside? Your folks, if you can hop over to YouTube and take a look at this, the art, just the cover art is beautiful too. But so Leah, it sounds like you used the the situation that you were in, which was that really just very burnt out. I love that. The what did you call it? The dark night of the soul. I mean, my gosh, how fabulous. What a great way to describe it. And folks, if you've ever experienced burnout, that is it. That's what it's like. So you used that and you started trying to do something constructive and productive with it and to put yourself out there and to have something that kind of lived on its own. So you had this company that's now part of Penguin Random House, I think. How did they find you?
Yeah, well, that's when I started to show up more online as an art therapist and as an artist and just sharing creative techniques, putting myself out there, putting my work out there. And not many, I want to say not many art therapists were doing that at the time as well. So I thought that was, like being brave, like being able to put myself out there and talk about it.
Very.
I think is really important. So yeah, so they just reached out, and that's how that they had mentioned that that's how they found me. Yeah.
Hmm, that's so great. I mean, so I mean, it's great on a number of fronts. You weren't shooting for that. You didn't have something that you were just trying to shop around to folks. They found value in what you had already done. So the idea of self-publishing, folks, if you have an idea, put it out there. Putting your work, your book online. How did you go about doing that?
Yeah. So, well, I learned a lot in the publishing process when I actually created this essential art therapy exercise because I had to learn how to work with the team, being able to share ideas and things like that. But there are some downsides as well working with a publisher, meaning that there were some things that I wanted or direction that I wanted to go, and I didn't have control over that. And so I didn't like that part, I have to admit. So that made me, after this book, it made me realize that, like, you know what? Self publishing is a great idea because I do have that control and I do have that say in what direction. So it gave me some structure and it gave me an idea of how to work with the team. But then also, I knew that I needed support in putting my next book out there. And then I did hire a team. And so Ingram Sparks, so if you are thinking about putting your work out there, Ingram Sparks website has amazing teams already there. They have done the research. It's a distribution company. And so I just hired one of their teams, 1106 Design, actually. And they help me. They help me with the cover. They help me. There's so many details in writing a book, right? And I think that that's where people get stopped. They're like, oh, that feels overwhelming. But the thing is, when you have that handheld process, which 1106 Design did. They take care of everything. The design, you go back and forth till you get everything exactly the way you want it. And I love that. So that's where I was excited to self-publish. And I did it again, just even with my new book, I used the same company and putting it out there.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful because there are books, Leah, that, those look very professionally done. I've ordered some books off of Amazon that were clearly self-published. They arrive at the door. There's grammatical errors, there's typos, the book just doesn't look very good. So using a company that will help you be
Yes.
able to do the design, did they help you with the marketing piece as well?
Well, I have a team. I like to work with different teams. So I have another team that I do that I work with marketing. So it took me a year to create the Essential Art Therapy for Youth book, like literally putting the ideas together. I made 88 videos that go with it. So it was a lot of work that I put to create
And
this.
that there's QR codes, it looks like, for those of
Yes,
you who are
QR
just
codes.
listening. If you get the
Yeah.
book, there are QR codes that'll pull up the video for you. Because 'cause I'm sure it's
Yes,
like,
that
"Wait
show
a
you
minute,
how to.
there's videos in a book?" No, there's a QR code, so that's what a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
idea.
So yeah, because people want to see, people are visual learners. And so, like, how do you do this? And so I walk them through the process. So, yeah, it took me a year to do this, but it's like 20 years of experience that I was processing to put into this
Right,
book,
trying to
right? So,
distill down.
yeah. So now for this next year, that's actually one of my intentions is I'm going to market it. So I do have a marketing team that helps me with like ads and things like that. But I think it is my responsibility as the artist, as the creator of this book, to put it out there myself. So being authentic, showing creative ways of how to put it out there in a playful way so that people would want to use it. Because a lot of times I think other clinicians or, if you're wanting to make a book, you think, oh, somebody else should do this. But even as authors, it is your responsibility to share the work, right? Because it's your voice.
Smart, very smart. Yeah, so the original book, which was that the RAD for SMAD? Was that your first book?
Radismad, yes.
Radismat, okay, that is what it was. Okay. You wrote that, you designed the cover art, and then did you just put that up on Amazon yourself at that point, or did you use a team for that one as well?
Well, it's interesting. This was called a co-publishing. It was called Laredo Publishing, and basically, because I didn't know anything about publishing, so the advice that I got at that time was reach out to 50 publishers and see if anything sticks. So honestly, this was the 50th publisher, and it was basically I did pay them a fee to put it together, and then they sent me a whole bunch of copies, and then I went into the school system and I sold the book through PTA, and I gave the PTA a donation. So it was just part of the process of putting it out there. And after a year of doing that, I felt really satisfied. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to really put my attention on this. I want to work on other projects. I want to, either write other books, start up the Creative Soul Society. But I felt like it served its purpose. Like I knew why I created this. It was a healing journey for me and to put myself out there in that new way. Yeah.
Such a great idea. My older son loved monster trucks too, so I'll have to show this to him. It's really cute. The cover art is cute. He's an adult now, but still, whatever. Uh, Probably still would like a monster truck, but not in my driveway. There are several routes to go for publishing and self-publishing, right? So one is people just write something, they look on Amazon. Amazon will walk you through the steps of how to self-publish through them. That's one way to do it. Just as a consumer, I would highly recommend using a team like you're talking about. You can
Yes.
also pay a publisher to produce this for you, which, instead of them paying you, you're paying them, which is fine because you get your work out there, which it
Yeah, it's a
sounds
co-publishing.
it's a
That's what they call it. Yeah.
co-publishing, thank you. So, self-publishing, co-publishing, and then there's the big catch, I think folks think, is having a publishing deal, and I'm kind of midstream with that at the moment. New Harbinger picked up a project of mine, and we've been working on it for a while, and, to your point, there are many benefits of working with that kind of robust team, and there is a loss of control. So the name has changed, the order has changed, some of the content has changed. So depending on what the author is trying to achieve, definitely it seems like you might want to really think about, do you want this to be 100% your project? Are you okay with doing a project with someone, which is really what you're doing when you have a publisher? And can you do something like a co-publishing agreement with someone? So those all sound like great ways to go. It sounds like you kind of landed on the self-publishing as your preferred method because you had that control. And then you are so smart, Leo. You went out and you hired a team. We are mostly therapists who are listening to this podcast. You're a therapist. I'm a therapist. I don't know how to publish a book. So you found a team. How did you go about finding those members of your team?
Yeah. So Ingram Sparks is like the distribution house. They have teams there that you can research and see who's a good fit for you because they offer different services. It could be like an a la carte, or you could get like the full package. So I like working with a team because of the handholding, they take you through that process, but also it is an investment. And when you create anything, whether it's a beautiful piece of art or a book or anything, there's going to be an investment. And I know that what I'm doing is worth the investment. And, putting my artwork out there, and I definitely want, put the best of the best. So um, it's important to do that, to feel okay, to put money into your projects.
Right. And I think there are a lot of folks who think, well, if I sit down and I have a good idea and I write and then I submit it and somebody picks it up, I'm going to make money off of it. And, I'll tell you, I spent my advance pretty quickly just in the hours it took for me to write and then editing and rewriting and a developmental editor. So this is something we do have to have some financial skin in the game. We're going to be putting money into this project and hopefully people will buy it and they'll get something out of it. And, if we make some money off of it, that's fabulous. It doesn't sound like that was your number one motivation because you really put your financial skin into this and your time and your energy and your heart because this is, you're an artist. So this is something you are producing. You're not just sitting down and kind of grinding it out. So I think that's a good mindset for people to think about. This is not an easy process. This is not for the faint of heart. None of it is, regardless of whatever path you choose to take, but it's definitely worthwhile. So, Leah, if you had to give just three top, here's my words of advice to you folks. Here's the top three things to think about. If you're going to try to write a book and publish it, what would you suggest?
The first thing that comes to mind is to come from your own personal experience, to be able to connect with yourself and what you learned from it so that someone else could benefit from it. And I have to say, like, even through the exercises and my newest book, I'm thinking about of essential artist therapy for youth, is that these are exercises that I did with the youth in the school system and they resonated with me. But there's also like a personal level, meaning that I have pictures of myself and those bad days that I had. And I was like, how did I deal with my anger? And these were the projects that I did, for my own healing. And I put them in the book, and so I want people to feel that authenticity. Because a lot of times I think you can get stuck in what do people want, and then you're doing it for them because I thought people pleasing. But you gotta really come back to your own personal experience and say, what have I learned from doing these practices, and make it your own, right? So that you can share it and people will really get it and love it.
Exactly. People will feel that. It's like anything else in the world of therapy. If it's not authentic, if it's not from our heart, it's not going to probably go very far. That's just such great advice. Thank you. So, if people want to connect with you and get your books, if people want to look into your programs, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is my website. It's leahguzmanstudio.com.
Mm,
And I have my books there. I have my membership, services, all the goodness is located there.
I love that. We have a few art therapists on our team. I think I'm going to offer to get them a membership because this sounds really important. I love that.
Awesome.
Leah
Thank
Guzman,
you.
thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us. It's lovely to meet you. I'm going to buy each of your books for our team so that we have a few on site. Folks, please go to Leah's website, buy her books, take a look, see what her membership has to offer. She's a lovely human.
Aw, thank you, Dr. Margo. It was wonderful speaking with you
Thank
today.
you. You too. Take care. Have a lovely rest of the day. And everyone who's been listening, thank you so much for joining us as always. You can find me at thejunipercenter.com under your mental health business mentor. And the podcast is available anywhere you find your podcasts. All right, Leah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you'll join us again next time. Be well.